by typing their questions in the chat box of this platform. And actually, we will be live streaming this in the FB. Those the audience in the live FB live can also interact, can also type their comments in the comment sections, and I will just have to facilitate the questions later and the activities as we move forward, pursuing the goal for today. At this moment, may I call in the president of the Davao Association of Catholic Schools and the presidents of Holy Cross of Davao College, Brother Noel Vic H. Deloria. Brother.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning to our esteemed resource persons and to our participants for this morning's conversation, intersection conversation. Since I was a young boy, and that's many, many years ago, the tatak of Dax has been on delivering good educational conferences and sports. And there seems to be a very good balance to this. And the sports had given us so much dynamism, joy, and camaraderie. Unfortunately, COVID-19 stopped us to do this. But the spirit behind sports has continued to live. We know that restrictions have now been lowered, and Ched has started talking about resuming collegiate sports competitions. So I think this conversation this morning would be very important because it points us back again to the importance of sports and how it would impact our lives and our community. We know that sports is would be teaching us to be goal driven. When we get into sports, we would like to win. We would like to get. We would like to be successful, and it would also teach us to be pathway thinker because we will find many ways in order to reach our goal. We become disciplined, enduring, and persevering. But because we are spiritually motivated, we see beyond success, beyond accomplishments and results, beyond medals and trophies that bring us fame as individuals and as a team. We do sports because we would like to celebrate life, build bridges of solidarity and friendship, as Saint Irenaeus would say, for the glory of God is man fully alive. So, welcome to this intersection conversation of the role of sports in human and community development. And we are very fortunate to be facilitated by Dr. Porfirius Saranya Puralan. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Physical Education, Health and Music in 1997 at St. Mary's College of Tagum. She gained her master's degree in physical education at the University of Mindanao in 2004 and completed her Doctor of Philosophy major in educational leadership at the University of the Immaculate Conception in 2011. She's a teacher, grade school teacher, high school, college, and graduate school programs. Currently, she holds classes in the graduate school program teaching PhD PE, MA Physical Education program, and Bachelor of Physical Education major in School Physical Education at the University of the Immaculate Conception. She's a teacher, she's a leader, she's an artist, and she has produced publications and textbooks for grade 11 and 12 physical education, and she's also a technical and ethics reviewer, and many other accomplishments. She also gained an appointment from Commission on Higher Education, CHED 11, as a member of the Regional Quality Assurance Team for Bachelor of Science in Physical Education in 2019 to 2022. Her appointment is affiliated scientist member of UIC Research Ethics Committee in 2019-2021. Also in school year 2021-2022, graduate school research in charge was added to her responsibility. Currently, she's pursuing MA Guidance Counseling at the University of the Immaculate Conception. So here we have Dr. Ferry, very active, and we're fortunate to have her as our facilitator of this intersection conversation. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much, brother. Nakaka-inspire. Dali. Thank you so much, brother. Nakaka-inspire marinig ulit how sports can help us develop our full potential as a human being and, of course, for our community. Now, before we start the conversation, may I have the honor to present to you this morning, joining us here in DAC's office is Sir Jimmy Lu de la Vega, the Executive Director of DACS, and of course, Brother Noel here is joining us in the office of DACS. Later, or actually they're already here, we are also joined by Dr. Marilu Q. Benignos, a child psychologist of Davao Doctors College, and Dr. Maria Luisa Ginto. She's also a registered sports psychologist and associate professor of the Department of Sports Science, College of Human Kinetics, University of the Philippines, Diliman. So guys, these are the experts that are going to converse about these matters this morning so that all of us who are listening can learn from them. And of course, you are also invited to converse with us by typing your comments, your suggestions, your queries, or your response to the talk, to the sharing that we will be having this morning. There will be two parts of this conversation. The first part would be allotted for our guests. They are given time to talk on specific subjects requested of them. The second part would be the conversation proper, whereby each can respond to some queries and the audience may have that you have in mind later when they deliver the subject. It would be facilitated by yours truly in such a way that our experts also will converse with each other and as their listener, learn from them further. So folks, let's start the ball rolling. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Can I have some reactions there? A heart perhaps, a clap perhaps, or a thumbs up perhaps? I would just like to engage you guys. Yan, nakaka-receive ako ng pag-ibig dito. Thumbs up. Yes. Diba? Nakaka-inspire. And we have to connect. Even if I don't see you live, but I feel that you are there listening to me. And I know that you are very interested for this day's topic because this is really a concern in the academe, in the private sector, and as well as the LG. All right? So, well, you see her kanina, Dr. Marilu Q. Benignos is already here. Doctor, are you here? All right. There goes our lovely Dr. Marilu. let me introduce you formally, ma'am. Well, Dr. Benigno's here gained her degree, college degree at Ateneo de Davao University, taking up Bachelor of Science in Biology. Her medical degree was taken from Davao Medical School Foundation and has a training on general psychiatry training at Southern Philippines Medical Center Institute of Psychiatry and Behavioral Medicine. And of course, her training in child and adolescent psychiatry at the University of the Philippines General Hospital. She is a publisher, a researcher, very interesting in mga researchers niya. And she also appeared in court as evaluator for child custody, annulment, competency to stand trial, insanity defense, violence against women and children. And she has also a lot of speaking engagement talking about her expertise. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome her with a virtual applause, Dr. Marilu Q. Benignos. Ma'am, take the virtual floor.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to share my slides first. I just have to work on the technical aspect. Okay.
So while waiting for Dr. Benignos, I would like to remind you again to rename yourself. If you are a member of the academy, you type the name of the school plus your name. If you are coming from the LGU, you just have to type LGU, then your name. And if you are a coach, you can type coach and then your name. Ano pa ba? Yun. And we hope to account, no, the entities who are here, so that we can really have we can converse, no, we can acknowledge you properly, and we can converse also. So I think seeing from the profile here, we have Davao-based schools, like Holy Cross of Davao College, Alpha. I guess this is from Davao. I'm sorry for those schools na hindi ko alam kung saan, but you are always welcome here to stay. Limited Corheso is here, SPCT. We have, let me account it. Okay. Kalunasan High School, PWC, Sir Jerome, hello there, kumusta? I also hello. I also see Ma'am Daisy Alcantara, Miss Cherry Agusti. These are my colleagues in the field of physical education, Davao City. Diba? Kami din ito magkakasama. Good morning sa mga seminars that schools or an organization will hold. So, na-miss na namin ang isa't isa kasi nga 2 years na tayo hindi nagkikita, hindi nagsa-sports events. But sige lang, no? Cherry, I love you too. Nice to see you, Che. No.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Morning.
Yes, I also have my students here. I see Miss Arif Obra, si Miss Marie Antoinette Jimenez, Mr. Earl. Sinuscroll ko yung aking Hello, Miss Antoinette. You are now in your dissertation. Thesis writing, right? Okay, and you also have from UP. So, PWC, Miss Cairo, good morning. Good morning to you, Miss Cairo. Sarangani, we have someone from Sarangani. So basically, most of us here are members of the academy. Hahanapin ko yung sa LGU. Assumption College, nandito din. Hinahanap ko yung LGU. Yun, Sarangani LGU, nandito. Diba? So, if you can share the link, if you can invite other LGU entities who are interested with sports, so you can send them the link and have them join us in this conversation. They are very welcome. Sir Aldrin Dais, good morning to you, sir.
Yes, morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yes,
Na-miss kita. Na-miss
correct.
kita.
Regards of team. Yes,
The
dear.
last time we saw each other, yung psychological first aid
Yeah.
natin. Yes, but sige lang. This will soon be over. Makikita-kita din tayo. Kaya nga tayo meron ng conversation na ito because we want to revive in a way na walang masakripisyo. Di ba, sir, no? So, we have to start on the right foot, no? Na hindi tayo masyado. Kasi Chad is already talking about resuming the collegiate competition. So, it's just not right to prepare also ourselves. And this conversation will hopefully will give us more to work on and to inspire us more to work for human development and community. So yun naman talaga ang objective natin. And most of you here are PE teachers. Sino
Ma'am,
PE
sorry,
teacher?
Ma'am,
Yeah,
sorry,
okay.
sorry for the technical glitches, no, but can you make me as a host again so that I can share my
Yes, you are.
slides? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you are now host. Okay. Sige, ganun talaga ang live, ma'am. May mga glitches na ganyan. So, okay lang po yun. So, lahat tayo almost all of us here are PE teachers. Sige nga, sige mga PE teachers dito. Ayan, ready na si ma'am, si Dr. Benigna. So, I will give her the virtual floor and we will be ready for her talk this morning. Doc, your turn. Doc, naka-mute ka po.
So can you see me, no? So can you
Yes,
see the
Doc.
slides right now?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, sige. So good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the DAX community, the Davao Association of Catholic School, Region 11, a committee on sports, for inviting me as a panelist in this intersection conversation on the role of sports in human and community development. So the title of my lecture is Physical Activity in Human Development, a Medical Perspective. So I'll be walking you through the key points of this lecture. Can you see it?
Yes po.
Ma'am? Okay, the impact of physical activity to mental health, brain biology, and physical activity. The recommendation coming from the World Health Organization on the guidelines on physical activities for the different age group. Our challenges now in promoting physical activities amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, and my recommendations based on the journals I have read in the past few days. So, okay. So, physical activity, according to the World Health Organization, is defined as any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that requires energy or expenditure. So, this is done in school through play or exercise, and through the sports that we have in school. So, the benefits of regular physical activity can help children and adolescents improve cardiorespiratory fitness, build strong bones and muscles, control weight,
reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, and reduce the risk of developing health conditions such as heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, and obesity. So what is the impact of physical activity on mental health? To answer this, I'd like to share to you a research that I have read across on entitled School-Related Activity Interventions and Mental Health Among Children, a systematic review and meta-analysis. This study raised the questions of whether schools can intervene to prevent or delay the onset of mental ill health, or promoted development of positive mental health defined as a state of well-being where individuals can cope with normal stress of life and success, particularly in our everyday life. So the objective of this research was to identify the impact of school-related physical activity, interventions on the mental health among students between 4 to 19 years old. This actually included research on 10,000 journals, and then they narrowed it to about 30 journals involving the impact of physical health, physical activity on mental health. So this includes the general population samples of children in preschool, primary school, secondary school. And what are the types of activity intervention done? This is conducted either inside school or outside school with the aim of increasing the physical activity or decrease the sedentary behaviors of the students through single physical activity or its multi-component. So the conclusion of this research actually showed that school-related interventions aiming to promote physical activity can reduce anxiety, increase resilience, increase well-being, and improve the positive mental health of children and young people. Physical activity is one type of intervention in the school that can intervene to prevent or delay the onset of mental ill health. So let's now go to the brain biology and physical activity. How does physical activity affect our brain biology? This abstract picture actually tells us that for every muscle contraction during exercise, the muscle induces production of chemicals, which reaches the brain, affecting the function of the nerve cells in the brain that actually modifies the different areas or the different regions of the brain. So it is right to say na if you're angry or you're sad, it's right to say na pwede ka munang mag-exercise dyan sa labas. Then after that, diba, you get a sense of relief after walking or exercising. So during exercise, the amount of good chemicals in the neurotransmitters, in the neurotransmission in the brain cells alters new cell development. So in the important areas of our brain, which regulates our emotions or memories. So this regulation in our emotion actually enhances our memory and actually our general well-being. So let us now can you see this slide? Let us now look at this slide. This slide tells us how physical activity throughout the lifespan strengthens the development of brain structure and function. So the blue part in the picture is our prefrontal cortex. So as we exercise early in our life, there is it promotes the development of new cells in our prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain in charge of the executive functions of the brain, like organizing, planning, problem solving. And this actually promotes resilience, enhancing behavioral and emotional self-regulation, resulting to the decreased risk for mental health problems in adolescents. So this table shows us the WHO recommendation guidelines of physical activity among different age group. So for children 5 to 17 years old, WHO recommends 60 minutes of moderate intensity to vigorous physical activity daily. So physical activity for more than 60 minutes provides additional health benefits. And most of the daily physical activity should be aerobic. So that's about 5 hours a week. So for adults aged 18 to 64 years old, WHO recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity throughout the week, with muscle strengthening activities that should be performed involving our major muscle groups for about 2 or more days per week. So it is the same for the older age group. So there is now a challenge of COVID-19 pandemic. No? It has taken a toll on the mental health of young populations right now. According to the World Health Organization data, more than 80% of the world adolescent population is insufficiently physically active. So due to the COVID pandemic, there is less motivation and intention towards physical activity among our students in the COVID-19 era. This is due to the restrictions, limitations in movement, sedentary lifestyle, and increased screen usage. And as we know nowadays, more students practice different branches of sports in the computer. So all the more the suspension and modification of school routine actually affected our social connections, physical activities, and affected the rising issues on mental health among our youth right now. So on top of the psychosocial impact brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, the current scenario on the mental health of Filipino children during the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the WHO data, shows that 10 to 15% of Filipino children between 5 to 15 years old are affected by mental health problems. No? And then 16 to 8% of Filipino children between 13 to 17 years old have attempted suicide. And it is a fact that globally, suicide is the second leading cause of death from 10 to 19 years old. Currently, no, government agencies addressing mental health problems includes, currently in our scenario right now in the whole Philippines, there are 5 government hospitals with psychiatric facilities for children, 84 general hospitals with psychiatric units, and 46 outpatient psychiatric facilities, no, 11 are designated for children and adolescents. So currently as to this day, there are only 64 child and adolescent psychiatrists like us in the Philippines, and majority are practicing in the national capital region. So for now, we only have 4 child and adolescent psychiatrists in Mindanao, 2 practicing in Davao, and 2 practicing in Cagayan de Oro City. So this data shows us that there is scarcity, no, between supply and demand to address issues in promoting mental health. Therefore, there is a call for the collaborative interagency efforts involving school communities, government units, and NGO in promoting mental health. So the school is a good venue, no? This is a good opportunity for us in the mental health realm to really connect with you, because you are actually connected with the families and the youth, no, to promote mental health. And there are several studies showing that school-based motivational interventions using sports is an important aspect in the promotion of mental health among the youth. And developing innovative motivational intervention to increase physical activity among school should be based on the concept of autonomy, social support, participation, fun, self-efficacy, relatedness, commitment, and positive self-concept. So concretely, intervention to be implemented to increase motivation among students includes developing specific strategies for increasing intrinsic reinforcement based on self-determination, having students choose the activities of interest that they like, emphasizing optimal challenges in engaging students to participate in moderate to vigorous physical activity that is not too hard or not too easy, and is cognitively appropriate. And focusing on key concept of team participation rather than winning or competition, developing an appropriate level of support in the social climate, and developing methods for preventing social cliques and gender conflicts to increase level of belongingness and relatedness in interactions. And of course, training staff focusing on team building, leadership, and nurturing. Concretely said, since we are now in a digital world and because of the challenges that because of the challenges of face-to-face interaction, recommendation includes providing options for physical activity programs via synchronous online platforms that allow participants engagement and observation of body language. Another recommendation is the sharing of free or low-cost fitness application websites with youth to facilitate engagement in physical activity. The no equipment or low equipment exercise programs should be disseminated to schools, sports organization, and youth. Facilitating increased opportunity to seek support from teachers, implementing mental health program and wellness initiatives, including psychoeducation among youth to identify the red flags or the signs for depression and anxiety, and providing mental health resource and support that should be communicated to the youth. Development of peer support programs among school and sports organization, and of course, communication information via social media through teacher and the school board. So I think this is the last part of the slide. Thank you for your kind attention.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Benigno. So you are talking about things that would really remind PE teachers, coaches, sports coordinators to really get into our students moving because these are healthy for them, right? Ma'am, no? Your talk actually added to the passion, I think, to the PE teachers around, to the sports coordinator. Meron kayong scientific backup. Hindi tayo sasabihin, sports lang yan, PE lang yan. Meron tayong kakampi. And one of those is Dr. Benignas here talking about the brain biology of physical activity and exercise. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
No? Yeah. Later, ma'am will be joining us, Dr. Benignas will be joining us in the conversation after all the speakers have shared their piece. Next speaker, a fellow PE teacher, I believe. Okay, she is an associate professor of the Department of Sports Science, College of Human Kinetics, University of the Philippines, Diliman. And looking at her CV, she's also a researcher, a publisher. And with this at hand, I believe she's also in love with PE, and she's determined also to help the field to increase or to promote physical activity among youth. That's why She's invited to be with us this morning. Please help me welcome Dr. Maria Luisa M. Ginto. She's also a registered sports psychologist. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Just a little bit more background. I have a lot of PE teacher students in the graduate program because in the College of Human Kinetics, we have a lot of enrollees from PE teachers and also physical therapists, coaches. So I'm very at home with the audience today because every day I am with PE teachers and students as well. And as a sports psychologist, really my main focus is working with athletes and coaches so that they will also be able to utilize the training of the mind for competition. And I was actually very delighted to be invited this morning to this conversation because my background in psychology, apart from sports psychology, is also community and social psychology. So I've been gravitating to studies and interventions that involve sport for community development, specifically for peace and development. And my publication last year on harnessing sport for disaster survival is one of the biggest projects that I really got involved in. And this year, we are also part of a research on the use of sport, physical education, and exercise for mental health. So I'd really like to share with you my firsthand experience on this. And so allow me to share my my slide. No, so I'm going to share with you two big researches that I got involved with, which I feel would be very relevant, no, to our conversation this morning. So sport, play, and exercise are, of course, definitely something that we all know intuitively, but again, because of our biases that that's just play, that's just sport, and all of these thoughts that really minimize the value of sport. However, during the pandemic, and we know this very well, we were really we actually experienced how difficult it is not to move, not to play, not to exercise, and not to have sport because we were all restricted to our homes, and everything that we were familiar with and what we took for granted suddenly became very important. And so when the whole world went into a lockdown, it was not just physical, but mental as well. We were all in our homes and we couldn't do much. We tried to move a little bit, but it wasn't as what we knew before. And so we felt that the world was temporarily closed, and it extended to 2 years. And only now are we gradually opening ourselves to activity as we used to. And in fact, many of the leagues that involve colleges and universities, specifically, I'm familiar with the NCAA and the UAAP, working with a lot of varsity athletes and coaches. And it's just so exciting for us to be back. However, not all sports are allowed to play. Only a few of them, but better than nothing. Okay, so when the new normal happened and all of these familiar behaviors became our new norm, it really put a lot of sports people, specifically PE teachers, coaches, and athletes, in this state of finding a new meaning for what it means to be physically active during this time. Okay, and meaning is very important because we are not just people who move, but we also want to understand what's happening. And I'd like to share with you our experience, particularly in the College of Human Kinetics, where 85% of our student population are composed of student athletes. And many of my colleagues, in fact, my fellow teachers, are coaches, okay? Well, of course, I also consider myself as a mental coach because I'm a psychologist. I don't teach the sport itself, but I coach athletes on how to train their minds so that they can be competitive as well. Okay, so we introduced this program, which we called Sipain COVID, which is to kick COVID. But actually, SIPA meant more than this, okay? And S really actually meant short, okay? And I, incidental or intermittent physical activity, where we try to promote, okay, educate, promote, and model, okay, how to be physically active the whole day, because everyone was in front of their computers studying or teaching or coaching. And we also knew from the studies of the WHO that one of the biggest problems, even before the pandemic, was the sitting syndrome, which was highly correlated with high-risk diseases. And this worsened during the pandemic because people were forced to sit the whole day because all activities were happening online. So we found out also from research that movement interspersed throughout our behaviors and activities the whole day is even better than a one-time big time in the morning. So we needed to help people break, okay, that sedentary lifestyle by introducing the idea of short intermittent or short incidental physical activities throughout the day, you know, just to stand up after 1 hour and do a 2 or 3 minute exercise is healthier than sitting the whole day. And even if we did some workout for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, but sat the whole day, then the results are still very unhealthy. So this was a program that we introduced. In fact, if you check the Facebook and look at Sipain COVID, you would see there the program. But of course, we are now transitioning to the website that we are creating because we realized it couldn't just be a Facebook. So it's not really that updated if you look at it now. And this Sipain COVID really was a program where we educated people, no, not just in our college, about the dangers of sitting the whole day, which is like the new smoking, and how we could fight and manage all these challenges, specifically disease, by prevention and staying alive through what we call the SIPA, or the short, intensive, or intentional physical activity every hour. And we tried to integrate this with the DOH program, Galaw-Galaw para Wag Pumanaw. Okay, and if you will look at our Facebook, there are short video clips of 5 minutes under, where we featured our teachers and our students demoing, okay, different movements that can be done every hour or in between. And for instance, this video that was created by Professor Albert de Marukot from the UP College of Human Kinetics, a colleague also, he made this dance routine to the tune of Mamang Sorbitero. And in this dance routine, there are 3 variations for people who cannot move because of some disabilities, and another one actually moving standing up, and another one sitting down. So let me just give you a short, what they call this, a peep into that. Okay, I'm not sure if this will go straight to the Facebook. Okay, but well. Okay, wait. Well, if it doesn't show up because it's a video, I will stop sharing first, and I will encourage you to look at that later on. Okay, so another routine that was done by a student, okay, and she's a varsity student athlete, is Bianca, and she made this short video for adolescents and young adults 12 to 20 years old, and for adults 21 to 59 years old, using objects or items from the house, and how one could actually be physically active. And if you will see, it's about 2 minutes, 44 seconds only. And so, we had all of our faculty members and students producing this video, this exercise videos that can really promote physical activity during the pandemic. So that in itself, being involved in a community project that will promote physical activity, exercise, and sports within the confines of the home was really binding our community as well. And really at the heart of it is that physical education involves education of the body mind, not just the body. Okay, so we're transitioning now to making this program not just relevant to the pandemic, but to the new normal now beyond the pandemic. Okay, and so this is not an isolated study and project as well. I'd like to also share with you another research that I did for many, many years actually. And this involved introducing sport as a disaster, post-disaster program after Typhoon Yolanda happened. Okay. And so this program, okay, I hope that this is seen. Okay. All right. Involved the sport, play, and exercise as well. How do we do this specifically for the context of disaster? Okay, and sometimes it's also intuitive that people introduce all kinds of sports, during the pandemic or disaster. And during Yolanda, there were a lot of news reports on how children, young adults really turn to sports, as part of their coping mechanism. And one of these news reports involved a foreigner who noticed how these adolescents tried to save a basketball ring, and be able to play despite the disaster. And he said, I didn't know what to think at first when I stumbled upon 6 teenagers shooting hoops over the weekend in a wrecked neighborhood of Tacloban, a city that Typhoon Haiyan reduced to rubble, dead bodies, and uprooted trees. That slammed into the Philippines on November 8th. And this reporter went on to say that as a foreign correspondent working in the middle of a horrendous disaster zone, I didn't expect to see people having a good time or asking me to play basketball or ball with them. I was even more stunned when I learned that the basketball goal or the ring was one of the first things this neighborhood rebuilt. Okay, so there must be something. And, as a sports psychologist trying to understand that situation, I realized that perhaps we could be more intentional, in using sport as a psychosocial intervention in a situation such as this. Okay, and so really, the first question is, what happens after a disaster, a calamity, or even a pandemic like ours? First of all, the event itself can be very traumatic. There can be death, okay, and people would have to rebuild their lives, okay, and there will be post-disaster consequences on people's physical and mental health as well. And so what are we to do? Okay, what are we to do about this? And so one of the things that we realize is perhaps we can introduce sport, no? And how did we respond? No, so we intervened by introducing a sport-based psychosocial program. At the same time, we were doing research to collect data about it, no? Kasi hindi naman tayo pwedeng mag-rekomenda tapos without really data and evidence. And so this is really what we also saw on the ground, no? That people needed something to help cope with what happened. And sport was really what we proposed, no? And we used also a framework to guide the design of the intervention. And one of the effective frameworks that really are used not only by sport-based programs, but by a lot of psychosocial interventions in the midst of disaster is HubFall's essential elements of psychosocial care. And basically, this theory says that when we introduce any form of psychosocial intervention, whether it's counseling, whether it's play therapy, or movement therapy, it must be guided by 5 principles that create a sense of safety among the survivors, that calm them down, that build self and collective efficacy, that also develop hope and reinforce connectedness among the survivors. And so guided by these principles, we created the 3 R's, which really was connecting also with the PE teachers who we were coordinating and collaborating with. And the 3 R's, instead of reading, writing, arithmetic, stood for replay, relive, and recreate. 3 R's. So the proposal was to help children, students, and teachers play again so that they can live again and recreate their lives again. So, it was really a community resilience program through sports. And let me see if this will play. Is the volume heard?
Yes, Doc.
Okay.
Yes, po.
Okay, so that's a very short clip of how we introduce that. And here you will see the teacher participants also playing. Okay, and now the students who were also part of the program, okay, these were high school students. Okay, so what we were doing there was using materials that came from the disaster site. No actual sports equipment, but we harness them from the different projects of these children and teachers. No, so what did we find out? No, we found out that these essential elements of psychosocial care were really guideposts that help not only the teachers and students in really appreciating the experience, but that these are also the outcomes that we needed with the disaster survivors. What is this? No, we used these guidelines to design the program. We taught the teachers how to design PE programs, activities, play and exercise activities, guided by these principles, and at the same time to look for behavioral indicators that showed calmness, a sense of safety, a sense of self and collective efficacy, connectedness among students and teachers, and a sense of hope. So the very guidelines that designed the program were also the outcomes that we wanted to see among the students and the teachers. And what was so good about it was that not only was it a coping, what they call this strategy to help survivors deal with the post-disaster consequences, but it also gave them that that sense of a confidence that they can face whatever what you call this disasters may come. Sabi pa nga ng mga teachers, no, pagkatapos ng training, we need to use PE and sports and exercise to build the next generation so that we are disaster proof. Hindi na kami kailangan matakot. Okay? Kasi yung katawan namin tsaka yung isip namin handa para sa kahit anong pagsubok. And so after the program, nanganak pa siya, okay? Nagkaroon pa ng susunod na program, which was now for disaster preparedness. How do we use sport, PE, and exercise to teach children in PE to be prepared for disasters? So ito yung naging program, and I'd like to show this short video clip again. Okay, just let me explain. These movements were the movements that the survivors described they did during the typhoon and the storm surge. So sabi nila, kailangan ituro natin to sa PE, no? Yung gumapang, yung umakyat ng pader, tapos yung gumulong ng hindi nasasaktan. So pwede, no? Sabi nila, pwede natin tong ituro sa mga estudyante. All right, so that was the outcome also that the teachers developed. Okay, so it wasn't just our work, but theirs as well. So again, all right, these were some of our learnings that it's very important to collaborate with our stakeholders. Hindi lang tayo mga teachers ang mag-iisip, pero kailangan kasali sila. And then we have to promote, this by education so that compliance will be heightened and that community will also collaborate, and that we are also very mindful of the culture of the people, no? The locality, even if we're all Filipinos, kanya-kanyang kultura yan sa bawat LGU, sa bawat eskwelahan, private, public school that we need to work with. So allow me to just end here first so that we can listen more to each other and to your questions as well. So yeah, let me pause first.
Yes, Doc. Thank you so much, Doc. Truly, what you have shared us gave us a lot of ideas of how we can improve our PE program, our sports program in the community, in the school. So thank you so much, Doc, for your sharing, what you have in UP, because UP is our idol school, and we are getting a lot of ideas from you. Thank you so much. More of this will be coming up in the conversation. We will be Actually, the audience also are invited to ask questions as regards this matter, Doc. So thank you so much. And at this, let's give a virtual applause for Dr. Luisa Ginto here from University of the Philippines, College of Human Kinetics. Thank you so much, Doc. It's a pleasure to have you and to listen to you. At this point, we will now go to the last speaker, but definitely not the least, because he will be with us to share his experiences as regards sports. Now, Dr. Sergio Villarico Opeña is an organization development consultant serving private and government organizations, including the Philippine Sports Commission. He held various academic posts as a vice president for administration, faculty in the graduate school, and as a member of the Board of Trustees of the higher education institutions and in non-government organizations. He is engaged in research, performing roles as thesis and dissertation advisor, panel member, and as a researcher. Please help me welcome Dr. Sergio Opeña. Doc?
Good morning, mayong buntag, magandang umaga sa lahat. I'm not sure if my audio is clear at the end of the participants.
It's clear, Doc, but we cannot see your face, your camera. I think the camera is off.
It's open, but I'm not sure what went wrong. Okay, I'll ask technical assistance. I'm here at the Philippine Sports Commission's office in Mindanao, in the same compound of the Davao Association of Catholic Schools and Colleges. So I'm just there's something wrong with my camera, so I'd like to move on to share my slides so I can continue to be connected with the participants. What I'd like to share this morning with the group is the program designed by the Philippine Sports Commission, which is Sports for Peace Children's Games. So I'd like to share a few slides for information. I'd like to get a feedback if my slides are seen at your
Yes,
end.
Doc.
Okay.
You just need to slide share it, Doc.
Just a little while, your indulgence, please, because I have problems at my end. There are staff assisting me. So in a while, I'll be able to show the slides. Okay, the Sports for Peace Children's Games is a program designed by the Philippine Sports Commission specifically to implement the United Nations right of the child to play. And this program is very much appreciated by the representative of the United Nations. She came to see us in the Philippine Sports Commission and manifested her appreciation of the program because in other countries, implementation of the right of the child to play is implemented by non-government organizations. And only here in the Philippines that it's the government taking charge of the program to implement the child's rights to play. So what is the Sports for Peace Children's Games? It is a facilitated game. It's not simply herding children to game venue, give them the equipment, and there they play according to their inspiration or interest. It is facilitated. It is facilitated. We mean uh, the children are recruited from the community. There is an assigned big brother or big sister. We call them ate or kuya. And for each of these youth volunteer, they will gather or take charge 10 to 12 children as one team. And this ate kuya would bring the children to the different game stations that are situated in a playing area. So it is inclusive because we don't want that only children having skills to play would be invited. So everybody, whether you know a ball game or not, you are uh, invited to play. There is something wrong with the screen. Yeah. Sorry with that. Okay. What happened? Let's go back. Okay. So approximately, we identify children age 8 to 12 years old. It is culture sensitive in the sense that we investigate and we ask input from our partners as the host, what cultural guidelines do they have, when children 8 to 12 years old come together. For example, there is a cultural group which do not allow children 12 years old and maybe older to be mixed in a group. Some culture would prohibit, for example, boys and girls holding hands or touching each other. So we need to pay attention to these cultural sensitivities. It is a project jointly planned and implemented by the Philippine Sports Commission and the host organization. Host organizations here would be public and private. That means local government units, schools, faith-based organizations, and so on. So what's the rationale of the Philippine Sports Commission for Sports for Peace of Children's Games? It's really to deliver the message, loud and clear, on the importance of the right of the child to play. As for the children to be aware of their rights to play, for parents, and for the partner community. Second is to provide actual experience of hosting children's games at the community level where adults intentionally spend time and create space for children to be happy and joyful. it's providing this experience, and Maris was mentioning this as a tool or intervention for people to be healed, no, from crisis, from trauma. Number three is to introduce children's games as a community tool of improving person-to-person contact among children and parents, which hopefully will improve community cohesiveness. Uh, we found out in a series of children's games that we have implemented all over the country that children who have common experience of participating in a game uh, would consider the experience as an experience of friendship. And so this being the case, I think that the sports or participation in a game can improve social interactions in relationship. Maybe we were thinking, no, of exploring the possibility of holding children's games as a way of helping children to know each other and maybe avoid violence or aggressive behavior in the future. Hopefully, it might reduce, no, the incidence of gangs fighting each other. So another reason for doing this is really to provide the experience of checking and reassessing popular, no, social perceptions or biases towards specific groups, often which is sustained by, adults. We have cultural biases against each other. So by providing a universal experience for children to come together, I think in a certain extent, these social biases can be checked. For the performance of the Philippine Sports Commission, I think we were able to hold 37 children's games all over the country and catered to about 15,793 children. Although we started this in 2017, by 2019 we could have done more, but because of the pandemic, we put the program on hold. So these are the statistics. Okay, I'd like to provide feedback out of these experiences, because part of the responsibility of the implementers of the sports workplace children's games is to conduct rapid project assessment at the end of the activity. And these are the feedback that we gathered from the participants, from the parents. So one, he was saying, my son has lost interest in playing sports. He is more hooked into playing his gadgets. I want him to be physically active and socially involved. So she brought her son to the venue of the children's games in Padada, Davao del Sur. Another one, he said, my child would prefer to stay home. It is not good. He becomes shy and moody. So here, Dr. Benignos was saying there is a connection between physical activity and our psychological health. And this parent is able to grasp that. So next, he said, I am happy that my children were taught of the games we used to play. As parents, we lost the opportunity of teaching those old games to our children. This is a parent in Buhangin Parish. We also conducted children's games. Why? Because these games are the old Filipino games like we call this Tumbalata, Patintero, Sack Race, or Tug of War, but we call it Tug of Peace because this is, uh, and you see children enthusiastically involved, and you see parent, look at the picture, there is a mother there who's really enjoying more than the children, no? Seeing the children so engaged in the game. Okay, this one is from the one of the artists in Big Sister, who accompanied the children to the venue. What I like best in children's games is the non-competition nature of the games. Children simply go through playing the various games just to enjoy and to have fun. Indeed, even losers in the games rejoices at the opportunity to play the games. Um, we do not award winners. There's no awarding. There's no tallying of sports, who won and who loses the game. We simply bring the children to the different game stations so that they will have a chance to experience the game. Since the games are simple and the purpose is clear, doing another children's games in the locality has a greater chance of being replicated. This is according to the teacher volunteer in Sunshon, who was very appreciative of children's games. A parent also observed the role of the Ate Kuyas, and they were saying that children look up to this big brother, big sister to guide them in the activity. And there was one of these Ate Kuya who shared that they thought they never had an interest, no, of really accompanying children, but they realized that in this activity they can, and they can handle children. Okay, this one is from Buhangin. Although that all of the games played are larong Pinoy, yet they are fun, and the games taught the children lessons of camaraderie. And this one is from Davao del Sur. We held one children's games at Coriezo College in Digos, and this kid was saying, "I am from the Bukid. This is my first time to have playmates in the city. I realized we are all the same." See, the bias that the city kid is better than the kid from the Bondocs. And this kid was realizing during the game, they are all the same. Okay. I am very happy to meet new friends from other parish. How I wish this will continue so that my other siblings can also experience what I experience. See, when a child participates in the game and he enjoys playing the game, he thinks of his siblings who are left at home, who are not able to participate, to be given the same opportunity to enjoy. And when you look at this kind of comments, you see the connectivity of the child to the family. So this game can also be, children's games can also be a family game. And this one is from Mati City. He was saying, "Hi, I enjoyed so much. I'm very happy in playing. I met new friends, and the games erase all my problems." So it's so funny to see this little boy saying that he has a lot of problems, and the game simply erased those. So I didn't ask what were his problems, but he was simply enjoying the game, and he was exhausted, but he was so happy I really like the experience of playing here. At home, when I play, my family would not leave me food. Here, I played in Almindra's gym. This is in Davao City. Plus, food is prepared for me. I love PSC. Again, we have some biases at home. We parents would provide a picture or description or a profile of a good kid. He is the industrious one. He helps in the household chores. He doesn't go out to play and he stays at home. The not so good kid is one who escapes household chores, who goes with his friends, who enjoys playing. Okay. And so it would be better for this guy to teach this guy a lesson, not to leave him food. But this guy was saying, oh, here I am given importance. I am given the best venue to play, the Almendras gym. And plus there is food prepared for me. So this appreciation of the intentionality among adults of really providing time and space and attention for children to play is well appreciated. So I'd like to play this video. I don't know if it's clear, it's possible, but this is in the website of the Philippine Sports Commission. We use, okay. This is,
The video is not showing po. What we
The
see
video?
here is your slide. What we see here is your slide.
okay. Stop share ko siguro. Stop share ko lang ang
Sige po. Yeah.
Are you seeing? Are you seeing the video?
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc.
Okay.
This event is an excellent avenue to mobilize our children and adolescents away from juvenile delinquency, drug addiction, and trafficking. There's so much that sports can contribute in the spirit of nation building, with our local and national sports heroes penetrating the international arena. I believe we are already seeing the dawn of success of Philippine sports. So play on!
We look at the children as a very important part in our society, that if peacemaking, friendship, playing together at an early age, we might be able to diminish the gaps, the differences among indigenous people, the Muslims and the Christians. And it would be easy for government and for society to work together for this country.
We are involving crying people, no? Meaning children from the Christian communities, from the Muslim communities, and from the indigenous peoples communities, so the Atamatig Salong. So by organizing this Sports for Peace children's game, our children would serve as examples to other people to promote peace. We have to be conscious about building peace. And you know, when we say peace, this would start in ourselves. Because if there is peace in ourselves, peace in our family, peace in our community, there will be peace in our whole country. So let us think peace, pray for peace, and act peaceful.
We really hope that the future generation of Filipinos would be people who have a deep appreciation of our cultural diversity, our varied way of life, and yet accept that as a fact of being fortunate. We hope that these young children in the future will develop a wider and longer threshold for tolerance of the other, the otherness of the other. It is only through this that we can build a true republic, a country that is united in spirit. And stop share.
Mahirap bang mahalin ang bayan?
Okay. Okay, thank you for your indulgence.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Openia, for the sharing of your experiences with our children in the community. Seeing the smiles of those children's faces really makes us envision ourselves to be also part of those smiles in the future, considering that we are recovering from COVID-19. So how we wish that we can go back to that kind of smiles. And that's why we're working now. We're here to converse of how we can move forward, considering that COVID-19 is still within us. Okay, dito pa din siya, no, nagpaparamdam pa rin siya. And we cannot forsake children's growth because there is this COVID. We have to be better than COVID. Parang ganon. So at this point, we go now to the second part of this program, the conversation proper. I would like to request our technical to pin our speakers, Dr. Ginto, Dr. Beninos, Dr. Openia, and Brother Noel here. Please give us some time because we will be entertaining your questions, your queries from the chat box. I'm opening my chat box here. If you have some queries, please do not hesitate to ask our experts. They are the right person to respond to you in our attempt to help each other, the physical education field, sports, coaches, LGU, as regards the role of sports in human and community development. Okay, so I'm waiting for your questions. Do we have questions from the audience? Our speakers here are ready to respond to those. And I also have here Sir Jimmy Dudile Vega. Open. We are finalizing the pinning here. Dr. Openia is joining us here. As I've said, we are now on the second part of this program where the invited guests, the three invited guests plus Brother Noel here, will talk about or respond to your questions if you have. Okay, what I have here in the chat box is thank you, all speakers. We have learned a lot from you. My question is for DAX officials. I guess Sir Jimmy and Brother Noel is here. So this is the question. Do you have now a concrete plan for the resumption of DAX sports? Who's gonna respond to this question? Brother Eli will be responding to that.
Am I audible? Okay. As of the moment, this is really the first step. We come together and converse on the importance, again, of sports amidst this pandemic. But after this, we will be making our strategic planning, and we will be incorporating, of course, the sports activities of DAX, bring back the dynamism, the joy of coming together as DAX in sports.
All right. See, this is the first step because we understand the concern. DAX understand the concern of sports having a essential role for our children. Thank you, brother. Sir Jimmy, would you like to add? Sir Jimmy.
It's all right. As Brother Noel has shared, we're still in the process of gradually phasing in inter-school sports program. Recently, we have received a memo from CHED providing guidelines for the resumption of inter-school competition. We find the guidelines to be very stringent, a lot of requirements to be complied before we can conduct any sort of sports competition among our schools. But I think these are already indicators that slowly we're going to bring back activities like this, face to face. And so we're doing it slowly but surely. We find that it is very important that like when we reboot any program, we start from the end, the purpose of a sports program. That's why we organize this conversation for us to rethink why do we do any sports program at all. So we're very grateful that we have with us our resource persons, Dr. Benignos, Dr. Ginto, Dr. Poralan, and Dr. Sergio Peña, because their experiences, their insights, will help us very much. Build or design a sports program that is really addressing the real needs of our people, not only physically but also mentally and emotionally. So that's it. We're doing it slowly but surely.
Yes. Being a teacher, physical education teacher, also in grade school, I have experience in grade school, high school, college, and the graduate school. Physical education field has been also talking about this. Our classes, we are talking. What should we do? Teachers do the post-COVID era. What programs should we do to enhance physical development of our students? So that's and we are all here, I guess, since we are here and engaged in the conversation. I think everybody is ready to help in whatever ways so that we can continue helping our students grow to develop the full potential. Nag-feedback ulit. Sorry for that.
But, let's see.
Okay, so there goes. Now, so with that, I guess listening to the speakers, we have been motivated, more passionate about getting into actions. Hence, I will be throwing the question to my to all of the speakers. This one, we all learn a lot from this the sharing that you have, but I'm sure we are now like what the question Kanina, what should we do? So I guess our listeners also would want to hear your insights about or the answer about this question. What issues? The answer, the question goes, what issues and concerns or driving forces and blocking forces do we see ahead in pushing for the inclusion of sports and fitness in human and in community and in school perhaps? So what issues and concerns or driving forces or blocking forces do we see ahead in pushing for the inclusion of sports and fitness in school and community? So we are all hearing from you, but what we will look forward. We want to implement these things, but what blocking forces do you see? Anybody can Brother Eli, would you like to respond? Brother Eli would like to respond first.
Yes. Okay. Blocking forces right now. Sorry. Blocking forces. Of course, first is really the situation that we have, the COVID-19 pandemic. Though we are already in alert level one, but we never know. After this election, we hope there will be no surge yet. But this is really a big block. So we'll have to find ways, look for pathways in order to hurdle this obstacle. So the difficulty of really coming together. But there, as I've said, the restrictions are already lowered, so we can already start some plans. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Ginto, you have something, ma'am?
Yes, of course, we need to be very intentional and mindful of reintroducing sports, not just for the competitive aspect of it, but really for the play aspect and the safety of our students. No, in my experience working with teams also that resumed bubble training and bubble competition, one of the challenges that coaches faced is really the injury prone of the athletes who resumed bubble training after working out and training only from their homes. And so this can be a very discouraging reality for our student athletes and even for our students who are non-competitors but re-entering physical education and sport activities. We really have to do this very gradually because we cannot take it for granted that these bodies of our youth have been sedentary or semi-sedentary for a long time. And injury can be a very, very discouraging experience. And even if not injury, discomfort. And for any one of you, and I'm sure the PE teachers are very well aware of this, that when you introduce exercise, sport, and play, we need to be we need to prepare not just the body but the mind as well, so that the student or the athlete will feel safe, not just physically to play with others, but psychologically as well, na hindi siya mapapahiya, okay, at hindi siya ma-injure, okay. So PE teachers and coaches need to be very deliberate in introducing low impact and low injury type of activities, so that as the confidence in their bodies build up, so will the psychological confidence follow, and the fun, of course, will be really there, as what most children look forward to when they engage in play and sports. So I just needed to remind everyone of that, because that is one of the challenges that we faced when even high-level athletes resumed bubble training. Kahit sabihin natin nag-virtual training sila, malaki yung transition. At ayaw natin na mawalan ng gana or mawalan ng loob ang ating mga kabataan dahil bigla-bigla ang ating ang pagpasok ng ating physical education, physical activity, play, and sports. So that's from my point of view.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. I think the PE teachers are challenged here. Those who are listening to you are challenged. Remember, we have to be very intentional. Okay, at this point, Dr. Benigno, you have something to say also?
Well, I think, in my point of view, I think it's also the psychological preparedness of the students to go back to school. So imagine the last 2 years we have been staying at home. Some students are not prepared to go back. Some are anxious to go back. Some are very excited. So I think this is something that the teacher should work on how to prepare the students psychologically in going back to school. Maybe a step-by-step process.
All right. Thank you. Nag-agree si Dr. Lindo at si Dr. Benigno about these things. Now, from the grassroots experience, of course, we will not miss Dr. Opena of what his take about this blocking forces and that we will be foreseeing.
Based on our experiences of hosting or implementing children's games, the blocking forces which I consider a major one is the attitude of adults in really being intentional of organizing children to engage in games, especially in the rural areas where children are really relied upon as a helping hand in the work of the farms or in the work of providing livelihood to the family. Children playing is something that is not appreciated by parents. But in the urban areas, I can understand the support of parents, well-educated parents, for children to play. So there are still these social biases, especially among adults, about children playing. But I'm happy that this forum provides the scientific evidence for children to play, and that's why it is considered as their right to play. Another obstacle is, of course, the coordination of the scheduled activities, because most of the playing venues are also used as a common facilities now in the community. So, but children's games is easy to host because you do not need very professional equipment. You can use indigenous materials for the children to enjoy. So that, and also another challenge would be uh, granting or seeking parental consent, because these children are minor. So those who are able to participate in the games are children whose parents have allowed them to join the games. And usually they have the time also to accompany their children to the playing venues. So if you notice in the video, there are a lot of parents now accompanying their children to the venue. So considering that, time allocation is also, it's also a major obstacles. But we know for a fact the result of the games. It's amazing. I am a parent. I have 4 children, and you know I labor a lot. I spend a lot for my children to enjoy. But bring them to a children's games venue, you do not spend so much, and you have the return. You see it in the faces of your child.
Thank you, Doc Openia. We have so much to grasp on that. But one thing that I can know is if there are social biases about plays in communities, there's also academic bias to physical education in schools. Like physical education is just given 1 hour per week. And I guess this is one of the blocking forces. Why do blocking forces the framing that the time allotment given to schools for physical education is just 1 hour? Well, this is one of the things I see as a PE teacher. I think going to the COVID era, there, on my part, I think there is a need to reframe, especially with the time allotment. And of course, our teachers in the basic ed should also be engaged into teaching movements, integrating movements in their lessons, because they can integrate movements in their lessons. So that's what I see as a physical education teacher. There has to be eradicating the academic biases of PE as PE lang. There has to be some kind of, and also teachers' professional development in the field of physical education should be also enhanced. That's why I think PE teachers now at this moment, I think, are empowered. No, our children needs us in our respective schools. So we promote movements, but we have to be deliberate. Dr. Ginto said, and we also have to think that children moving are also children developing the full potential, the brain biology in relation to exercise and physical activity. So marami tayong pwede gamitin mga teachers just for us to forge ahead, no? Para bang challenge tayo na we will move forward. These blocking forces are there, but we understand why is it there, and then we move forward. So yun po ang take ko for the blocking forces that I see. Okay, I have questions here specific for Dr. Openia. Doc?
Yes.
Question for Dr. Serge. Hello po. Dr. Serge, Sarangani Province sent an intention for sports intervention like children's games in the province to PSC Mindanao. May we know the status po, sir?
Okay. Hello, Alma. Thank you for joining the intersection conversation. The pandemic has really put a stop to all the programs of the Philippine Sports Commission, especially the children's games. So at this time, all the projects that have been approved are put on hold. Second, we are in the election period, and I think it was in the opinion of the board and the chairman not to hold public gatherings, especially not children's games, because it can be taken advantage by local candidates, and it might be used for political purposes. So at this time, it's the pandemic, it's election time, and so the status of the children's games are put on hold. This is now we are seeing brighter days ahead, so we are transitioning, and that's why we put this conversation online so we can start talking about uh, how we behave in the forthcoming new normal.
All right.
Doc Sir, salamat po. We understand po, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Sir. Now we have a question here, I think, for Dax, Dr. Brother Eli. I think this is for you. Does it mean our schools now has to collect DAX payments for sports fests for the future DAX sports?
Still keen about it. But yeah, for maybe projecting that within August and the coming school year, we might have some sports activities already. So we can have the collection of the sports fees, but if ever they will not be used, we can always account that and um, give you the proper accounting for the use of the sports fees. Ano, prepare lang tayo for the next school year and we hopeful that meron na talaga tayo mga sports activities. And by the way, we have also included now esports in our program. Again, because of the pandemic and because esports is already becoming very popular among young people, esports has also been introduced to DAX.
All right, thank you, Brother Eli. So there goes the answer of that. We just have to prepare ourselves. That's why we start this conversation, because we want to prepare ourselves in a way that we situate ourselves naman, so that we can really move on with programs for DAPS. All right, so are there more questions here? Okay, I have one more question. Now, a while ago, you have given us a lot of ideas, speakers of how we can go about, or how we can actually push forward the beauty of sports as a gluing force for community, schools, and church-based or faith-based. Now, we would just like to know, what do you have in mind, specific initiatives or actions that we need to do as PE teachers, as school officials. I believe there are school officials here, coaches, no, and initiatives that we can do to start sports and fitness that can be more, that will make fitness and sports more alive in schools, churches, and local government units. Considering that we still have these protocols imposed on us all over the Philippines. Dr. Serge, can you start?
Okay. While we have already structured programs, like in the education activities that we have in schools, we have structured programs, and these programs clearly show that greater or major emphasis is really allocated in the academic learning of the children. And to a certain extent, there are even school administrators who would consider physical fitness and sports as less priority area in the school activities. But our speakers, our resource persons today are saying this kind of attitude towards learning and towards human development is skewed. It's not balanced. So, for example, you look at the curriculum that we are following for our basic education, how much time is allocated for physical activity or sports. Um, when I was still in the basic education, we make fun of pupils or students favoring recess or stating that recess is the most loved subject because this kind of students are or pupils are lazy or they are not sharp, academically sharp. If they love recess, well, they are not academically sharp, so they're and now we are seeing different situation. We are seeing things in the different light. So maybe our school administrators have to consider providing space and time for children to recreate.
Yes, I agree to that. No time and spaces for our students to move. Thank you, Dr. Openya. Dr. Benignos also has something to say about it. Initiatives from your perspective, Doc. Ano po yung pwedeng gawin ng school, community, or church-based community?
Yeah, just as I have said a while ago during the lecture, no, I think since we have these limitations, we still have this pandemic. Although I believe we are now in a recovery phase, I hope. No. Hopefully, if we cannot do it face to face, then maybe develop programs like I know you have programs, but I think maybe the enhancement of online activities that can be done is to facilitate or motivate the children to be more physically active. I think it's also one. So we have to be working with the social media. We are now in a digital world. So we can take advantage of this, you know, just to motivate the children, the students to be doing physical activities.
Thank you so much, Dr. Benignos. Now, may we have Dr. Ginto?
Yes, I think you mentioned it earlier that we need to integrate PE across the curriculum. And one of the ways to introduce this is really to have what we call the brain breaks, where we actually break the online activities or learning with a physical movement activity, if only to really refresh and restart the body-mind connection of our students. No, so even at the undergrad and the graduate levels where I teach in the university, I make sure that one student, for instance, is assigned to run the 1 to 3 minute brain break for every hour. And for my graduate classes, the same also, where my students are teachers and PE teachers and coaches, that I do not allow my classes to run with my students just sitting down. I try to teach also standing up. I adjust my laptop so that I will be forced to stand up, okay, and then really require my students to have a brain break as part of their homework. No, may assignments sila na to prepare 1 to 3 minute brain breaks. So these little initiatives, I believe, will also get our students in that mindset that the physical movement and activity is not confined to physical education. Kasi nga we're all ranting that, PE is such a limited number of hours for the week, no? So bakit hindi natin baliktarin, ipasok natin yung PE sa lahat ng klase natin? Make sure that all our classes, whether it's math or science or whatever, will start integrating physical activity. 'Di ba? Kasi kung hindi natin magagalaw yung curriculum, matagal pa yan bago baguhin yung mindset at saka yung basic education and secondary education framework of where PE should be. Then we should find other creative and innovative ways of really integrating physical activity and sports into the curriculum. No, hindi naman kailangan lahat ay nasa PE lang. So I suppose also as teachers and mentors and administrators, we have to take the first step to be physically active. And this is a challenge to all of us here. I know from my own PE teachers that bumaba din ang ating physical activity during this pandemic. Kung paano tayo magmo-model, di ba? Kung tayo mismo ay hindi rin fit at hindi rin physically active. So let's take that initiative and set the good example.
That's right. We agree. As a PE teacher, I 100%, 150% agree with you, Dr. Ginto. The role modeling, the reframing of the time allotment, it will not happen at the snap of a finger. That's why we creative. Well, I guess all PE teachers are listening here. I hope you are inspired. Dr. Ginto here is a PE teacher also, and it's very inspiring to listen to you talk. And of course, Dr. Benigno, being a psychiatrist, listening to your talk earlier, have confirmed our passion, or at least tap our shoulder that we are somehow helping the brain development. Of course, hindi lang kami PE lang. Kasi that has been a culture for physical education and sports, no? So at this point, I still have one more question. The last question, and we will close this conversation. We do hope that, it's not a question. And how about the Educator Sports Fest? Just like the same, siguro, we are slowly starting, just like brother Noel would like to respond to that, I think.
Actually making a strategic planning this coming April, and that would be a very good suggestion. We will also have the Educator Sports Fest. But in fact, before, meron na. So I think we just have to revive it, and we will also have this Educators Sports Fest. Na parang hindi lang yung sports natin na focus ng parang sa mga resulta. We will include that in our strategy.
Sa mga players dyan, brother. So I also look forward to that sports fest. And I think I have kalaro dito, no? Na-meet namin ang volleyball sessions. Anyway, so there you go, guys. We have so much from our speakers na nakaka-inspire, nakaka-push forward, nakaka-inspire mag-push forward, because after all, we are in the academy, the LGU, or in faith church-based community, but we are one in intention to help our students develop their full potential as a human being, and of course, translating it to the community. At this point, we would like to award certificates of appreciation to our speakers. I don't have the digital copy here, but I have the hard copy in my hand. I guess the digital copy of this will be sent to our speakers, but let me read the citations. Davao Association of Catholic Schools Incorporated, Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines Region 11 awards this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Marilo Benignos, FPPA, SCAP, for serving as a resource person, discussant in the conversation on the role of sports in human and community development. Given this 29th of March 2020, in Davao City, Philippines, signed by Brother Noel V. H. Deloria, SC President. The same certificate is also awarded to Dr. Maria Luisa M. Ito, registered psychologist, University of the Philippines College of Human Kinetics, and same also for Dr. Sergio V. Opeña, consultant, Sports Commission. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for engaging with us. Questions have helped this conversation have its meaning, no? Your interaction online also help us to really get hold of ourselves and be of our best so that we can share with you what we want to share in relation to the subject matter this morning. So thank you so much, guys. I think the link for the attendance is already in our chat box. Please do not forget to fill them up because certificates, I guess, will be sent to you through your email. And once again, thank you so much for our speakers. Dr. Benigno, let's give them a warm virtual applause. Let's send them hugs, love. No, Dr. Benigno, Dr. Gito, of course, Dr. Opeña here, and of course, Brother Noel V. And of course, Sir Gini de la Vega. So thank you guys, and thank you so much. God bless us all. And let's stay safe, stay healthy, stay active, and stay pretty and handsome. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's have a prayer, a closing prayer. The video. Please join me in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, we give thanks to you that you have allowed us. Yet, we thank you for your guidance to fulfill the agenda in this meeting. We ask your blessings to continue to guide us in everything that we do today and in the future. May your love and grace continue to guide us in everything that we do today and in the future. All this we pray in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for spending your time with us this morning. God bless you. The attendance link.
Wala pa po yung attendance link.
Yeah, we are sending it now, sir.